A lot of people confuse intense love with anxious attachment. At first, it feels like passion. That urge to be together all the time, the constant need for quick replies, the fear of losing the person you care about. But the truth is, that's not love, it's anxiety dressed up as affection. And if you don't realize it, it can easily sabotage your relationships. Here's the paradox. People who love anxiously aren't doing it because they lack feelings. Quite the opposite. They feel too much. But that too much, instead of bringing someone closer, ends up suffocating them. It's like squeezing sand in your hand. The harder you hold on, the faster it slips away. Most of the time, anxious lovers believe they're protecting the relationship, when in reality, they're digging a hole in it. The good news? These patterns can be spotted and changed. There are 7 clear signs that reveal whether what you're feeling is healthy love or anxiety in disguise. And today, you're going to discover the 7 unmistakable signs that your attachment might be anxious, and how they've been shaping your love life without you even noticing. 1. Constant fear of being abandoned. It's wild how the fear of abandonment can run someone's life without them even realizing it. People with anxious attachment are always on guard, waiting for the moment the other person gets tired and leaves. Every silence feels like danger. Every absence feels like a threat. This fear usually comes from past rejection, where the heart learned to believe it would never be enough. This fear shows up in sneaky but powerful ways. They might avoid conflict at all costs, thinking that any disagreement will drive their partner away, or they'll settle for less than they deserve, just to not be alone. It's like gripping a rope so tight that your hands start bleeding but still refusing to let go because the pain feels safer than emptiness. And here's the twist. The harder you try to hold on to someone out of fear, the more suffocating the relationship becomes. It's like overwatering a plant you mean well, but the excess kills it. For people stuck in this pattern, the real danger isn't abandonment itself, but living life constantly paralyzed by that fear. And that fear naturally leads to another big sign of anxious attachment. 2. Needing constant validation. One of the biggest traits of anxious attachment is this endless hunger for validation. A simple "I love you" isn't enough. It has to be repeated over and over again, as if those words come with an expiration date. It's like trying to fill up a gas tank that has a leak. No matter how much you pump in, it never stays full. That endless search for reassurance becomes a burden for both sides. The crazy part? It's not that the partner doesn't love them, it's that the person with anxious attachment carries an inner void that refuses to be filled. A text left unanswered turns into a crisis. Forgetting to say good morning suddenly feels like a red flag. It's like having a radar wired to pick up rejection, even when there's none around. But the more someone seeks external validation, the less they trust their own worth. Depending on others for confidence is like using a cracked mirror. You'll never get a clear reflection. And this exhausting cycle of needing reassurance all the time sets the stage for another classic anxious attachment trait: reading rejection into the tiniest little things. 3. Interpreting small signs as rejection. For people with anxious attachment, even the tiniest details can turn into huge emotional storms. A shorter reply on WhatsApp, a different look, a slight delay in showing up suddenly. The thought is, they don't love me anymore. It's like the brain is constantly on high alert, mistaking shadows for actual danger. From the outside, these signs often mean nothing. The partner might just be tired, distracted, or busy. But in the anxious mind, every little change is proof of rejection. It's like living with an alarm system that goes off at every breeze, even when there's no intruder. And this constant misinterpretation doesn't just affect how the relationship is viewed, but also how the person reacts. They may become defensive, cold, or start asking for unnecessary explanations. Ironically, those behaviors often create the exact distance they fear most. And this chain reaction feeds straight into another powerful pattern: that ongoing nagging fear of abandonment. 4. Living with the fear of abandonment. The fear of abandonment is one of the heaviest pillars of anxious attachment. Deep down, it's like believing love is always too fragile to last. That belief sparks the urge to constantly check if the partner still cares. And this fear doesn't take a break. It shows up even in happy moments, whispering this won't last. In practice, it might look like repetitive questions. It's constant reassurance seeking, or even struggling to enjoy the present moment, because the mind is already predicting the end. It's like someone on vacation who can't relax because they're too worried about when it'll be time to go home. That same fear often fuels self-doubt and endless comparison. Thoughts like, am I good enough? Or what if they find someone better? Slowly eat away at self-esteem. And ironically, that insecurity can make the relationship itself feel shaky. When fear becomes your daily fuel, it naturally leads to another huge challenge: struggling to set healthy boundaries. 5. Struggling to set boundaries. People with anxious attachment often confuse love with total fusion. Like being in love means never saying no. This creates a pattern of overgiving, tolerating uncomfortable situations, and even losing themselves just to keep the relationship alive. Deep down, they're terrified that setting boundaries might scare the partner away. But here's the problem. Without clear boundaries, a relationship loses balance. The anxious partner may put up with unfair criticism, last-minute plan changes, or even disrespect, thinking silence is the best way to keep the peace. But in reality, that silence only reinforces inequality. It's like playing a game where only one side makes the rules. Over time, this dynamic builds resentment, exhaustion, and the sense of always being in debt to the other person. Ironically, the attempt to avoid conflict eventually triggers bigger arguments. And this lack of boundaries opens the door to another common anxious attachment trait: the endless need for approval. 6. Constant need for approval. For someone with anxious attachment, the other person's opinion works like a mirror. Without it, they don't feel like they exist. They crave compliments, signs of affection, or any tiny confirmation that we're good. When those signals are missing, the mind immediately starts writing rejection scenarios. It's subtle, but it runs deep. This shows up in everyday moments, asking over and over if their partner still loves them, waiting for that good morning text to feel secure, or panicking when they don't get an instant reply. Every gesture becomes a thermometer for the relationship, and without it, emptiness creeps in. The big danger is that this puts emotional control in someone else's hands. Self-worth ends up tied to what the partner says or does, instead of being built from within. And when approval becomes daily fuel, it feeds into a draining cycle of dependency. That cycle naturally gives rise to yet another clear sign: the struggle to fully trust. 7. Difficulty trusting. One of the most obvious signs of anxious attachment is the constant battle to trust. No matter how much love or loyalty the partner shows, doubt always lingers in the background. The anxious mind spins stories. What if they're hiding something? Or what if they leave out of the blue? That what if becomes a shadow that never leaves. They end up analyzing everything: gestures, words, silences, a change in tone, a delayed response. Suddenly it feels like proof that something's wrong. It's like living on permanent alert, trying to prepare for pain that hasn't even happened. That constant vigilance is exhausting, and it drains peace out of the relationship. Over time, this lack of trust creates constant conflict and tension. The partner feels unfairly accused, and the relationship becomes a battlefield between love and fear. And ironically, the very fear of losing someone often pushes the relationship toward the outcome they're most afraid of. Conclusion: now that you know these signs, the real question is, how much are they running your life without you noticing? Think about it, Tar. You letting fear make your choices for you? Are you letting that need for approval control your day-to-day more than your own voice does? Once you start seeing these patterns, it's impossible to keep living the same way. The truth is, awareness is the first step toward change. But change only happens when you take action. So ask yourself, what small shifts could you start making today? Maybe it's practicing saying no in a simple situation, or challenging yourself not to check your phone every 5 minutes. Tiny actions create massive breakthroughs. And if this video resonated with you, don't keep it to yourself. Hit that subscribe button, turn on notifications, and stick around for the next videos. Because here, you'll not only find answers, you'll find practical tools to build healthier, lighter relationships. After all, who said you need to stay stuck in anxious attachment forever?